22-year-old Mahsa Amini's death in the custody of Iran's morality police has ignited anger among people across the country. The protests have now turned into a people's movement. Protesters have been chanting, "Death to the dictator." It's the same cry that had toppled the Shah regime in 1979. Knocking off the turbans of the mullahs has become a new campaign in Iran.
The problem that the protesters face is there is no leader.
We did want to talk about these protests in Iran, man. This is so sad.
Yeah, they're just knocking off the turbans off the heads.
Oh my God, this actually did make me sad. You're right.
Well, it's like we were talking about it before the show. Like aesthetically, I love it. Viral wise, I love it. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Getting the word out for the protest is actually like it's doing its job, so it's working. It's effective.
Yeah.
I do feel like there might be a little bit extra backlash just because it's like disrespectful to religion. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's disrespectful to the bald community. I'll say that. Like, you know how weird it is when you have when you're going bald and someone knocks the hat off your head. You're just like, oh God. There's like a second of that.
These guys walk around with impunity. They get all this money, and like, who are they? Half of them aren't even educated at all. Like, they're just a bunch of bums.
Dude, they're like Amish. They look like Amish with the turbans and everything. It just looks like Muslim Amish, doesn't it? Because what do Amish people wear? They wear the top hats.
Yeah.
What is it with religious people? Always got to put a hat on. They can't just chill out, no hat.
Ryan Long is a bit about that.
Oh yeah.
He's
That's
like,
right.
no matter what, the hats, and then he goes, the Jewish wear a hat, and then the Chinese people wear the Jewish hat on their mouth. That's so funny.
Oh my God, dude. Just quick recap, like for people that are just getting into it, because it's weird. There's so much news right now that it's hard to keep track of Iran a little bit. It's just so like it's almost like too many. The world is. I keep saying this on the show. It's Kali Yuga, and we keep we will retaliate. I just love this guy. He just goes, "We will retaliate." What's that?
What's the Kali Yuga again? Like the trying time?
It is like the time of suffering in Hinduism. It's like the time when like the world's going to end and stuff like that. Yeah. So just a little setup on this story, I guess, would be good for me, even for everyone. From here, I'll tell you what I think I know, and then you tell me what like the full story. Okay. They basically have like this hyper religious people in charge of the whole government. It's like a cleric government, and it's always been this tension going back and forth between the people and this like hyper religious government. I heard one guy describe it as like he's like, it's not like it's not a nice Muslim patriarchy. It's very repressive and oppressive, whatever. And so part of the back and forth fight is like the hijabs with women is a contentious issue where it kind of goes back and forth between like you're forced to wear it to like, no, we want to modernize, we don't want that. And it kind of goes back and forth. Recently, though, one girl had it on just loose, and she got taken in by these like so-called morality police. She hit her head on the thing on the way in, dies, and then the country has just erupted in like protest and like everyone's.
Well, she didn't hit her head on any. They killed her for sure.
Well,
that's their story. They're like, no, it's an accident.
They said their story officially is that she had a heart attack. She's 22. It's bullshit. There's no way she had a heart attack. But what you can see in some footage and what people saw was when they were putting her in the car, they banged her head so hard that she was in a coma. And after like a day or two of that, she saw.
Yeah. So essentially, yeah. So for the last like 40 something years since the Muslims took over after the revolution. So there was a revolution in Iran in 79. It wasn't just Muslims. It was everyone against the Shah, lefties, anti-monarchists, anti-imperialists, and also like Islamists. The thing is, there was a power vacuum after, so they ended up taking control. And then since then, it's been a theocracy, like you said. Interesting to say, like right at the beginning in 79, there was a giant women's protest when the hijab law came to power.
Yeah.
And women were like, we don't want to have to do this. And then they just got beaten the fuck out of, even a few people stabbed. And that was it. And then it was like 40 something years of hijab. But like I've been to Iran, and yeah, you're right. Like most of the big cities, women wear it because they have to, but they would wear it like very loose, so you'd still see their hair. And and it'd be like a Prada or like a Hermes scarf. You know what I mean? It was
A nice Calvin Klein.
Yeah, like it was fat, you know, it's like they had to cover, but they still kind of like got away with it. And for a while it was kind of just like that was the status quo. You didn't have to go hardcore, but like, you know, you could have some flair. This woman got in trouble for some flair. Actually, you know what's interesting? The last time I was in Iran, I was 16 and I was walking. I remember how much of a sour taste this put in my mouth. I remember walking down the street with my mom and her friend, and one of these same guys stopped me and was like, hey, come, in Farsi, he's like, hey, come over here. And I have this tattoo, right? So I thought he saw the tattoo. Maybe that was going to give me trouble or something. And I'm like, yes. He's like, are those two women with you? And I'm like, yeah, it's my mom and her friend. He's like, tell them to fix their hijabs. So I had to go back and my mom was like, what happened? What happened? And I was like, he told me to tell you to fix your hijabs, which just like fucking pissed me off so much because I'm 16, right? Like,
oh my God.
Where do I get the fucking authority to tell my mom, let alone our family friend, to do anything? You know what I mean? But in their thinking, they're like, oh, woman is so pious that we cannot talk to woman directly if man is there. We have to talk to the man.
Oh
it's like,
my God.
Like, you know what I mean? Like my 16-year-old ass like outweighs these two grown women in their fucked up situation because I'm a man. So I have, like, if I wasn't there, they could tell them. But because I'm there, he has to respect them by respecting me, the authority, to tell that, you know, it's like, ugh, just so gross, dude.
Oh my God.
Pathetic. And these are the same fuckers who are doing this now. Who are like killing this woman, beating kids up, like fucking taking students away.
It's basically like conservatives. They're just such agitators. Like our world would be so chill that, like, because even in America, you look at so much trouble comes from like these like people that are like, oh, we're losing our country. What, you're not going to do anything about it? Like protest, like those kind. I feel like that's over here too. I feel like even when two countries go to war, it's not like two countries. It's like the assholes in that country and the assholes in your country.
Yeah, it's the hardliners. Like for us in the diaspora, we usually get excited because it's not like this is the first protest movement. In 44 years, there's basically been a protest movement of large scale every 4 or 5 years. Like I know, though, there was a big one in 99. A bunch of students got killed. In my life, like in my remembering times, like 2003, there's a really big one, 2006. It was called the Green Movement. You know, where is my vote? And that girl Netta who died, and everyone was like, Netta, like even Obama like knew about Netta dying. But the thing is, they always get cracked down on eventually. They always get like just fucking like silenced, and then they kind of dissipate for a while. This is the biggest one I've ever seen. And it's also what's really key importance here is that this time it's all young people. Iran is a country where I think it's like 68% of people in Iran are under the age of 30 right now.
Wow. That makes them very powerful.
You're talking 80 million people in the country, and maybe, what, like 55 to 60 million of them are under the age of 30.
Dude,
and
that's how they're going to... That's how they're going to dominate the next generation. They'll become more powerful like that. Yeah,
and you see high school and middle school kids getting arrested because they're flipping off the Ayatollah and shit like that. So it's because the other revolutions, it was always
this guy looks like a kid. This guy looks like a young guy. You know what I mean?
Not revolutions. The other protest movements were either like bring back the Shah, which like is outdated and stupid. You got some like California Persians like pushing that shit.
How many people were into the bring back the Shah? How many people said bring back the Shah? And when?
There are usually American Iranians like in California and like Pennsylvania and shit pushing it. No Iranians want that.
Oh, because they're loyal to the old regime. They left.
Yeah. So usually it's either
send their money to be like, let's bring back the Shah. Come on.
So normally the protest movements have either been like nostalgic, rose tinted, like bring back the Shah, or they've been like, hey, I'm part of the system. Let's reform the system. And even they get fucked over. The last guy in 2006, Mir Mohsen Mousavi, he's been under house arrest since then. But even he was part of the system. This is the first time I've ever seen it where it's not bring back the Shah. It's not let's reform the system from within. It's let's fucking shut it all down. And that's very interesting, if not exciting for me. Like right now, it's like the young kids, they're like, we don't give a fuck about your mullah this, mullah that. Like it started with the hair, let us show us our hair, but now it's just like, fuck all of you. I think tomorrow if they change the hijab laws, I don't think a thing would stop. I think it's too late.
I mean, it does feel like it's building. Like sometimes I feel like, okay, you can't say things are getting worse because that's pseudoscience. It's not real science or whatever. But then I'm thinking like, why not? Yeah.
The Iranian government has been very like North Korea style in that they've tried to just like isolate and just like basically ignore the rest of the world and like make their people like not know the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work. They got internet. So like the regime is not tech savvy. The regime's not on Twitter and on Instagram
They're
posting
such hits,
banging
man.
graphics.
Yeah.
And like they still have the mentality where if they just tell people, no, this is what happened, shut up, that like people will be so scared they'll listen. So like right now you got over 1,000 dead in Iran, but the official number, like they said, okay, so I think like 12,000 people have been arrested, right? Just the arrests.
Wow.
And like up until last week, they're
deaths?
like, we didn't arrest a single protester. They're like,
Yeah.
we only arrested 5 terrorists. You're like, bro, like we're watching the video of you dragging people away. They're like, we didn't arrest anybody. Like they're still like, I think that's a good sign that they're on their last breath, because this is what I was gonna say before we got cut off that my parents would get upset about. I hate the regime, right? I hate the government there. I do. But I used to still like when they would talk shit about like the states and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like there was this element of like, yes, you're a theocracy, you're abusing your people, you're fucking scummy, but like, hey, a broken clock is right twice a day, and like they say some pretty good shit about US imperialism and like, you know what I mean? Like there was a side where I'm like, hey, they're not wrong about everything, but now they've like lost that too. Like they have nothing left to stand on, and they're just like in a different reality. They're like, no, the people love us. No, we didn't arrest anybody. Only terrorists, only Zionists, Zionist spy. Everybody's a Zionist spy. It's like, shut up.
Arrest,
No,
only Jew. Only Jew.
Yeah.
No, arrest. You're like, there's 10 guys
we
right
have
there.
Jews in
No,
Iran.
that's Jew. No, we don't make any arrests.
Yeah.
That's so goofy, dude.
It's just they've lost reality now. Like, you can see it for yourself. People are getting arrested. They're like, we arrest nobody. No. It's like, okay.
And the moral of the story is, you are loved because you are loved. Such is the nature of loving kindness. Okay? So now that I've done my karmas, make sure you do your karmas. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and sign up for meditation. Ascension is upon us, foolish. Sign up for meditation immediately. Ha! Am I still here?